Hello, everybody. Welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing. This is a show where I chat with business owners about their marketing missteps, mishaps, and most importantly, the lessons that they learned along the way for all of you, our listeners. I am your host, Christy Mitchell. I am a marketing consultant and strategist. I work with service based business owners who have relied on referrals and word of mouth to build their business. And they know in order to take things to the next level, they need to finally think strategically about their marketing. Today, I am super excited to welcome Phil Olo to the show. After growing up in Kenya, Phil relocated to the United States to pursue higher education. He successfully completed his master's degree in construction management engineering. Following that, he established Spatialists LLC, a company where he specializes in architectural design and virtual reality. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I am really excited for this conversation today. Phil and I know each other from a number of years ago. I met Phil's wife back when I worked at RIT. She was going through the executive MBA program that I work with at the time. And Phil and I were just reminiscing before we hopped on our live, talking about when he came to campus for graduation. So we have actually met in person a number of years ago, but it's been a very long time.
Yeah.
Not to make this show about your wife, but I love your wife. And she has a background in marketing. So she and I have always just kind of bonded over that and kept in touch. And I had mentioned to her that I was looking for guests on the show and she offered you up. So I'm very excited and thankful that you agreed to be part of the show.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
So tell us a little bit, actually, if you want to go into a little bit more detail about your company, because I know a decent amount about it and I think it's fascinating what you do. So if you want to talk a little bit about the company and then kind of what has your marketing journey been like? Because I know what Jen has told me, but we're going to have this conversation today to kind of dig into what were some of the marketing things that you've done along the way and what did you learn from those experiences? So where do you want to start?
Well, I'll just start with the history and what it's about and what we do. So, started here in Los Angeles, El Segundo, and it's been like about more than 10 years now in the business. But it was really difficult, especially for starting a business the first time. You want to be in control of so many things. You want to be in charge of how things run. You want to make sure that everything is spot on, and you know, um, it was a humbling beginning in the first stages. But so what we do was initially started with just rendering, just helping architects visualize their projects and helping them communicate effectively to their clients what they're trying to showcase. And I think one of the motivations was one client designed a kitchen and weren't really sure of what they were selecting and the material selection. And in the end, it was done. The kitchen is done, but it wasn't what they wanted. So they've spent all the money. They had just have to use it and live with it, and and just kind of hope to save money for another remodel, and this time do it right. But with VR, I noticed you get exactly what you want in advance before
Mhm.
and that peace of mind, that getting that custom experience, getting exactly what you want, which is our generation right now. You can actually get what you exactly need
Mhm.
for a particular problem, and that helped people out. And I was like, oh my goodness, I could help a lot more people make the right decision and save a lot of money and enjoy their spaces.
Yeah.
So where Spatialist started, and we've been working with home builders, real estate developers. Now we have big brands that we work with, specifically in the retail space and hospitality. And we're doing a nationwide project with some of these companies, so that's really helpful. Um, but when it comes to marketing, I was hesitant. I didn't believe in marketing. I didn't believe like, oh, someone, they're talking about the business. It's something you reject in the beginning because you don't see the value of, having a nice website, having a presentable, having an image, having a look, It's very important to have a distinguishing look. When they go to your website, they know, oh, even without reading, they know, oh, this is Specialist. That
Hmm.
that kind of that kind of marketing is so important to distinguish you from other companies.
And I just want to point out again here that you're married to a marketer, and
I am.
even you were like, nah, I don't really need marketing.
I thought I knew what I was doing. In fact, I was kind of like, okay, I just said yes, but deep down I was like, oh man, I think I can do better. But this is an expert. This is someone who specializes in this.
Hmm.
I started understanding the value. It's and also this idea that you have to be very patient uh,
Hmm.
with marketing. It's not like you do something on Monday and then results on Friday. No, it doesn't work like that, and it's very experimental. So and especially we've worked going through different people. Each
Hmm.
person comes with different sets of tools and techniques, and you
Yeah.
have to trust that maybe that's the one, or maybe this is the one, so that
Yeah.
you can grow.
Yes.
Yeah,
I just want to pull out those two key pieces and hammer those points home because I feel like I am preaching all the time that you need to be patient.
yeah,
Because especially when it comes, like, I talk a lot about like organic content marketing, right? It's like creating this helpful, relevant content that solves problems for your audience. It's super powerful, can get you great results, but it's not going to be an overnight thing. Like you said, you can't do it on Monday and expect the
yeah.
results the next day. It doesn't work that way.
The expectation, though, that's what we
Yes.
expect.
Yes.
But this is why you almost have to do a little bit of homework personally, as opposed
Hmm.
to just uh, because this is what social media is trying to push, especially Instagram. Your company is not Instagram. Your marketing is not on Instagram. Like your business is not as it can be marketed on Instagram, but it's not like an Instagram ad. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's what people think. You pay $10 and you're done. No, it's not like that. So
Yeah.
there was that McDonald's experience where you want things fast. Um,
Mm.
and one thing I noticed is even though I'll be working with different people, I want to maintain the specialist idea. So they could work around whatever ideas they have, but they still the core method of a core vision or culture of spatialist that they can use that as a reference and not to distance themselves from what we really want to look like to the
Hmm.
yeah what we want to represent.
Yes.
Yeah,
Staying true to your brand, it sounds
staying true
like.
to the brand. Yeah, as
Yeah.
opposed to just letting someone just, hey, listen, I can change your website, I can change everything. Let me change your stuff, or let me change
Yes.
this color. So, but as I just as you get mature in business and as an entrepreneur, you just start trusting people and believing that you can trust people and
Hmm.
seeing their work and trusting that they'll do a good job. And if it doesn't work, it is what it is. If it does, then you're fantastic. Things are great. You just move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the other piece I wanted to kind of pull out from what you were saying before is that there is a level of experimentation, right? And like I've had this conversation many times with business owners. It's like there is no one size fits all model. There's tried and true, methods and approaches, but every business owner kind of has to go on that journey themselves to figure out what's going to work for them.
Yeah. I always say entrepreneurship is the fastest way to self discovery, as opposed to just work. Maybe as entrepreneurship or traveling or I don't know. Like you either have to be Rene Descartes and go to the wilderness and live there for a couple years and come back enlightened, or you be an entrepreneur and it just pushes you to keep experimenting. You can't just stick to one thing. You have to diversify. You have to try
Yeah.
something. You have to immerse yourself into books and stuff so that you can it's almost we're trying to find the password to everything. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
The key that will unlock, you know, the success to the business.
Yes. So I'm wondering, Phil, if you have a specific example you could share on kind of that journey of, we tried something and it didn't work, and this is what we learned, and this is how we moved forward from it. I know you've kind of done a bunch of different experiments, especially as it relates to marketing with your business.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we've tried social media,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook. It's so saturated. It's incredible. I mean, especially when it comes to design, architecture, and all that stuff. It's so saturated.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're invisible, and it's kind of like people are not really looking. I know people are looking, but uh, but I can't really say people are not looking. Maybe people are not looking at my stuff. They are looking at my stuff, but it's always this issue where I want the right person to look at it, but you never
Yeah.
get the right person to look at it because uh, maybe they're not even there.
Yeah.
Most of my clients are not even in social media.
Right.
They're busy,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're busy in their industries, you know. And
They
if you
don't
want,
have that. They don't have time to doom scroll on Facebook.
and if you're dealing with a whale, they're so busy trying to handle fires, and they're just
Mm-hmm.
they're just looking to find the right people to help address certain sections of their business. And if you can be one of them that takes care of them of that part of it, then it's a win.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's where I'm like, kind of like, okay, social media, I get it, it's nice, but it's not for every business, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could be
Yeah.
for.
And that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish with your thought.
It
Sorry.
could be for like a beginner. No, I'm not saying a beginner, but it could be for certain type of businesses. It's fantastic. Fashion, hair, makeup, salon, whatever. Those things are incredible on social media because people want to look. People want to see. Oh, I want to see the latest fashion. But what about this new hairstyle? Let me see what she did yesterday. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But that at that level it works. But imagine for the brands that produce the products that they use, they're probably targeting something else, distributors or
Mm-hmm.
different stores. So they have to maybe physically go there and
Yeah.
talk to them. It's a different approach, different areas. Yeah.
Yeah, and that totally speaks to the point that I wanted to bring up is that, your company especially, and I've worked with some like software as a service providers, and it can be so incredibly challenging to do something like social media for that type of business because your target audience is a business, first of all,
Yeah.
right? You're in the B2B space, not B2C. So that's a challenge, which sometimes LinkedIn could be a really good option there.
Yeah.
But especially with your type of business, it's so experiential, right? Like it's hard to describe what it is
Yeah.
in a way that really translates effectively on social media, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
And people sometimes don't value, especially VR. Um, you almost have to demonstrate the work to them,
Yeah.
and almost some clients have noticed you have to go through one project for them to get it, and
Yeah.
once you get into their workflow and they're like, oh my goodness, we should have done this long time ago. we
Yeah.
Because think about this, we're doing virtual reality on a restaurant. We build the entire restaurant in the space. We walk through the space, change materials real time. Well, everybody's sitting there, the designer, the owner, the architect, everybody. We're all there looking at this space in the span of 15 minutes and made changes that would take nearly a week if we were not in communication together.
Right. Yeah.
So those kind of things are that's probably uh, my advantage to
Hmm.
having this traditional approach is, number one, we save time. We're all in the same page and we move faster in terms
Yeah.
of agree much faster when it comes to design, because design is subjective. We can both try two different things and both agree at the same time, okay, this is better, and
Yeah.
be so there's a lot of time.
I imagine too, it's got to save a lot of costs, right? Going back to that initial example that you gave on a smaller scale, right? Of like a customer with a kitchen and they weren't happy with it, right? I
Yep.
can imagine, on a larger scale for chain restaurants or, these bigger companies, like one bad decision because you couldn't visualize what it actually looked like in that space could end up costing tons of money to try and go back and fix.
And people forget the landlord has a lot to say. Uh,
Mm.
the landlord can decide, listen, you can't have a porch here, you can't have a patio, sorry, it's not, it's my building, this is how I want it to look, but the party outdoor patio, I don't want that, like Europe or whatever. No. So
Yeah.
if your design was based on the patio as the main, something to attract customers, you have to redesign the whole thing.
Hmm.
But if the landlord is involved in the conversation, it's a completely different experience, and
Right.
we don't have to go back and forth. In a span of
Yeah.
30 minutes, we can resolve so many things and get the project out of the way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I feel like we could go down the rabbit hole of talking about your business and all these like use cases, but to bring it back to the marketing side of things. So you tried some social media, didn't pan out, didn't work. How do you market your business today? What does your marketing look like for Spatialists?
So there was something that was really successful. You to physically go to these companies and walk in and schedule an appointment and
Hmm.
give them a demonstration. Hey guys, I'd like to do a demo for a project, and this is what we do, and this is how we can help you. And they can decide if they want to and get involved. Some companies, there's one that recently came through. We're still in the works. There's one that came through, and instead of hiring us, they wanted us to train their people on how to use the programs so that they
Wow.
can do it themselves. So that became an opportunity. So if you want training, we can train you guys, but that will take
Interesting.
time,
Yeah.
because every software like Excel or whatever, people there's a workflow, a manual that the company gives you, but humans like to make their own stuff up. So we come up with our own ways of doing things. Like, it's my method. It's my
Yep.
fastest way to get to A to B. But the manual shows you A to B, but I think it's too slow for me. So I've created something. So we've done the same thing. We've reinvented our workflows, and if
Hmm.
training, we can train you, but it is the best way, in our opinion, to get the job done faster. So
Yep.
training is one thing, but word of mouth and being you have to. And most of the big companies that we've met, that's what we did. We just went to their offices and had an interview and did a demonstration, and we got the jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was something that was so interesting to me because in talking to Jen, just as like a sidebar conversation, again, going back to your wife, like that was an interesting thing whenever I'd be like, so how's Phil's business going? How's the marketing going? Because I know that I had recommended some people for you guys to connect with on that. And it was just so interesting to me because she's like, yeah, I mean, marketing just doesn't really work for him in the traditional way that a lot of people think, like, I'm going to do ads or I'm going to do,
Yeah.
social media or I'm, whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
And I think that's just such an important message for business owners to hear is that, again, there's no one size fits all model. Just because this tactic works for somebody else's business doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to go back to that you talked about earlier is that the branding piece was big, right? Like you knew that establishing that visual brand and that reputation for yourself, that is something that is important and that falls under the umbrella of marketing, right? It's like
Huge.
you gotta build how you want to be known in the space,
Yeah.
and protect that when you do go work with other providers who may, try and change things and shift things a little bit and staying true to the way that you want it to be portrayed, I think is really important.
I mean, you can just use Apple as an example. I say I want my website to look like Apple. I want everything to look like that. I want the quality of images on the website to look like that, and to be
Mhm.
consistent. That's it. You know what I mean? And just less verbiage, less words, very very clear direction. But yeah, like for our business, we have to talk. We got to talk about it. And one of the things that I really worked hard to do is to immediately establish a good relationship with whoever I'm talking to. It's really important. It's like it's like it's almost in this, especially in this profession, you have to be like the family. You know what I mean? You have to be the family.
Mhm.
Yeah. you have to be sorry, this interruption. You have
That's
to be,
okay.
it has to be like it's tough. It's like a family member. You have to be, it's like, think of if the economy goes bad, right? And things are not doing well, people tend to hire people they trust and they know, not someone new. It's harder to get someone new. It's most
Hmm.
easier to get someone that you're familiar with. Or, hey, and someone, and Annie knows Steve. Okay, let's get Steve because and Annie knows Steve.
Yep.
You know, I think it's like that. So you have to try to find that type of relationship early and be that Steve to them
Yes.
without
Yes.
really knowing someone. And once you become Steve, then they can work with you. And then one thing I'd also try to do is, as soon as we have a job together, we're going to make it the best experience. We're going to make it a destination. It has to be an experience. It has to be like, when you call me, we're going to respond immediately. We're going to get the job done on time. Every changes, we don't nickel and dime. We don't want
Yep.
to do stuff. We want to get if we want to work with you until it's completely done, until you
Hmm.
satisfied, until we make you look good on the other side. So
Yeah.
that's philosophy, because it is also a type of business where you can nickel and dime if you're not careful, because
Right.
there's a lot of changes in between. The conversations. There's so many
Yep.
changes, but we just agree on one fee and call it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love what you say there because I want to kind of pull out, right? Relationships, that's a big one. I love to talk about marketing in that way with people. A lot of times people have this like cloudy, like negative view of marketing, but I'm like, what if you just thought about marketing as building relationships?
yeah, that's it.
It,
It is pretty much
yeah,
build
it's just a
relationship.
matter of
Yeah.
how you're building those relationships that is the difference, right?
You can't forget that. You can't forget this is a relationship that needs to grow, and you
Yep.
have to value to them. And it has to be beyond just the business. It can be just
Hmm.
conversations. And this is where now the pressure of entrepreneurship comes in. You just have to keep getting better, keep developing
Yeah.
yours socially. I try to do that with Harvard Business Review. They have articles and books that you can read on
Hmm.
24 trends, stuff like that, on dynamics between different cultural needs and different cultural experiences from different people, how to work with people from diverse age groups,
Hmm.
different um, generational. Now we're having generational conflicts, you
Yep.
know, and if you can recognize those things with your clients and tap into that, if someone is from a Gen Z and they're trying to hire you, you can connect with them quickly.
I
Uh,
love that. That's
Next,
such a great point.
or
That's
Gen,
such a great like
you know what I
caveat
mean?
to the
Yeah,
relationship building. I love that.
you're talking to them, you get their stuff, and you're like, you got to diversify. You have to. You can't. I mean, you have to wear so many hats, which is fine. It sounds exhausting, but it's not. It's not exhausting once you're aware that it's
Yeah.
there. Then you'll know
Yep.
what to. Yeah.
Yep. The other thing that you said earlier, Phil, and I just had this visual, and I've written posts on this in the past, is like thinking about your mark when you were talking about those relationships, right? And not just like potential clients, but the people who could refer you potential clients, right? You want to be the Steve, like you said.
Yeah.
Um, and I always come back to the analogy of planting seeds,
Mm.
right? Like, and this is kind of like hammering on a couple of the points that we've made in this conversation is like you plant seeds all along the way. You don't expect them to bear fruit tomorrow. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
But if you continue to nurture them and to your point, like build those relationships and nurture them and be genuine and follow through on what you're saying and give great experiences, that all builds the personal brand, right? Or the brand of the business, all of it. And then that just feeds those relationships going into the future.
Yeah. You are the brand, and your employees are the brand. It's not the company.
Hmm.
It's the people. So an example is, I had a client. It's a medical building I was working on, and they things didn't really pan out. There was delays and there was problems, and now we have problems with uh, usually homelessness in Los Angeles is pretty big. So there's a lot of vacant properties, and they just walk in and chill. They just stay there, and the consequences of that is there's a lot of damage, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of this could be a fire that could destroy the building. So you
Mm-hmm.
barricade the space, but all that stuff was affecting us, and they had to let us go. But when they let us go, we kind of were gracious about it. We're like, listen, man, it's all good. It's all good. I understand. I hope you guys get someone who can accelerate this whole process. And it's completely fine. And you can call us back anytime. We'll
Yeah.
we'll, we'll help anytime. And if your guy you've hired needs help, tell him to call us. We'll give him all the things they need to help expedite so you guys can get what you need. And you just leave in a positive
Yeah.
space. All
Yep.
good. It's
Don't burn any bridges.
No, you don't need to. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not personal. That's the thing about business. It's just business. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And once that was done, they actually called us back to give us some more work on
Awesome.
that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, you can imagine the opposite. If we did the opposite, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
we got in something,
Right.
things, you. That's the thing about entrepreneurship. There's phases you go through entrepreneurship. In the end, you just kind of uh, just relax and see that it's all connected.
Yeah.
Everybody's connected, and the person who you might interact with today might not be ready for you. Will be ready for you next time. So it's just a game of patience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Patience, relationship building, branding. We touched on so many great things in this conversation.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for your time, your willingness to come on the show.
Of
If
course.
anybody wants to learn more about you and your business, what is the best way for them to do that?
Just go to my website, Spatialist, SPACIALISTS. We have our contacts there, and you know, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is fantastic. Uh,
Awesome.
I connect with people through LinkedIn, and yeah, that's it.
Very good.
And if you want
Awesome.
a demonstration of what we do, easy. Just call and we'll show you the latest technology, the latest work on virtual reality. The philosophy here is constant improvement, Keyesian mindset. We try to just keep getting better. You know, you're as
I
good
love
as
it.
your last yesterday. So any tip, we're early adopters. So as soon as anything comes in like AI, we're already exploring AI technology with architecture. Last 10 years, we've been exploring gaming technology with architecture, which has really helped us now to get into.
Wow.
And now we're using AI in relationship to gaming, so we can, you know, be able to stay relevant. That's it.
Very cool. So everyone needs to be paying attention to what you're doing, whether they need your service or not. I think it's just fascinating. I love how you approach your business and your marketing.